I'm Vern Morris, a Rock River Valley carver in Janesville, Wisconsin. Today I would like to talk to you about cottonwood bark that comes from a cottonwood tree. The carvings of a cottonwood bark can be of a whimsical type of carving. They can have staircases to begin and end and have no rhyme or reason. They can be odd shapes, humorous. The carving isn't carved to make any sense. Things are askew as far as square corners or other architectural type things that really don't make sense. The art form is to make you be amused and entertained, and you can't quite understand why it was carved that way, but that's okay. It's not meant to be understood. Just enjoy it. Let's now learn a little bit about the cottonwood tree and where it resides and some of the other general information about a cottonwood. Cottonwoods provide excellent shade in lakeside parks and marshy areas. They have a rapid growth, makes them well suited to be used as a windbreak type tree. The tree is an asset in wildlife areas where their hollow trunk serves as shelter while the twigs and bark provide food. What states have cottonwood trees? The eastern cottonwood is generally found in the plains and is found in Minnesota, Kansas, Nebraska, and Wyoming. In fact, the cottonwood tree is the state tree of Kansas. A Rio Grande cottonwood tree can be found growing in Texas, Colorado, Arizona, and northeastern Mexico. The ideal cottonwood bark in which you carve on is the thicker type of bark because it gives you more surface area in which to carve on any piece. So it's the preferred bark if you're looking to carve on cottonwood. Are cottonwood trees dangerous? They're a beautiful tree. They're a stately cottonwood. They stand tall and gnarled, magnificent all across certain parts of the country. They are also dangerous trees in that they can be destructive to private and public property, especially when the wind blows. How long does a normal cottonwood tree last? Fast-growing trees that don't live long, cottonwoods are one of the fastest-growing native trees in North America and can reach 150 feet in height. Surprisingly, these trees have a relatively short life cycle, living for only about 50 years at the most. So they're typically a very fast-growing tree. How can you tell if a cottonwood tree is male or female? Male flowers are colored red, while female flowers are yellowish green. Cottonwoods don't start blooming until they're at least 15 to 20 feet in height, and they tend to bloom only in the upper parts of their canopy. So most people don't notice cottonwood blossoming at all. Is cottonwood good for carving? Cottonwood is great to carve. It's a soft wood because the carving is super easy, and also you have to be careful when handling. Usually cottonwood bark is much easier to carve than the wood itself because of its consistency. Now I would like to show you a cottonwood bark carving and go over some of the things that I did on this particular carving and show you how I did it. At the very top, if you look at it, you'll see that there's a chimney. I even blackened it to make it look more real as far as a chimney would be. Then as you look closer, we have got not only a chimney, but we've got a stone chimney coming down and the roof of the cottonwood carving. We've got a bell here on one end that works free. Then we have it looks like maybe a chapel of a church. Rotating it, we have a window here on the side. Now, these items here were carved with micro carving tools. This bark is, I wouldn't call it fragile, but it's very soft, so you have to go slow and careful when carving. This here is the natural roughness of the bark on this particular piece, and I just accentuated the cuts in the top of it, as you can see. Rotating the carving around a little further, I have a roof line that I've carved, and along here you can see the wooden shingles that I have carved. This again using a micro carving tool, taking your time, making it look like a thatch type roof or a wood slate roofing. Below that, I have another building that, as you can see, I've cut windows in it. The windows are of a rounded, nondescript shape of a normal window, and that was meant to be that way. Here you have more windows carved into the side of the carving. Around here, as I rotate it, you'll notice that there is a stair steps that are coming down alongside here. They start from nowhere and they end nowhere. Also, in this carving, what I've done is I've carved out a cavity in the side of the carving, and I supplanted a water wheel that you would find like at a grist mill or something of that nature. I carved the hole first, then I separately carved the wheel, the paddle wheel, and then I inserted it with a pin through the center of it so that it would rotate. The surroundings of this area was also carved to make it look like it was a working paddle wheel, say at a mill or something, and then the water spills out below. This again was all done with small micro carving tools, just freehanding it. Following on down the carving, as you'll notice, there is the bust of a man like you would have on front of a ship that I carved into this carving, with a beard, protruding nose, and so on. At the very tip of this particular edge of the carving, I carved the body and beak of a large bird. Now rotating the carving around some more. As you can see, I've got stones down in here. I left the natural part of the bark on there for contrast. Then rotating the carving some more. I have a vineyard on the one side where it's got a stone wall below, and above that is a grape vineyard with a trellis going all the way up about a third of the way on the carving. On the back side, it was left uncarved because I had to have access for my windows on the front side. And then going up this side of the carving, to conclude showing you the carving, I also carved some miniature windows in the side of the cliff of this particular carving. Now I'd like to show you some of the micro tools that I used in the making of the cottonwood bark carving. Let me take a couple of them out here to show you. Here's a gouge. They're a real small tool, as you can see. It has a rounded back, and then you can see the front, how it's curved as a gouge. Here is another tool that I used. It is used to cut maybe the steps in the carving. These micro tools can be purchased at most carving specialty stores or online. Now also in my pouch here I have got some dentist tools that were discarded by the particular dentist that I go to, and they have given me these tools that they use in fixing people's teeth, and I use some of those for some of the more intricate work in carving on a particular cottonwood bark tree or any other carving. Generally, dentists, over a period of time, will have tools that they no longer can use because they've broken or wore down, and they often will give you those if you request them, request it of them, and you can get those most generally free. So, just another thought of how you can acquire some tools in carving on cottonwood bark. Now in the carving of the cottonwood bark, here are some of the knives that I used. Here is a standard carving knife that is used. And here are some smaller detail type knives that I've used. And here is a third one that I use. So depending on the size of the area in which you're carving, you will pick an appropriate tool to do that portion of the carving.